Hello, how's everybody doing? So we've studied about tenses, right? So today we're going to study about a type of tense which actually tells you about the past, right? So friends, welcome to Tutorials Point. This video is all about past tense. So are we all ready to dive into the past? We are, right? Let's go ahead. Okay, so we are all aware, right? What are tenses? Tenses are nothing but those forms of verbs which have a timeline attached to them, or those forms of verb, to be specific, which tell you about the time as to when they occurred, right? So we studied that there are basically three types of tenses: past tense, present tense and future tense. Now past tense, the name itself suggests a type of form of a verb which will tell you about any action that happened in the past, right? So that is what is all about past tense. Now any type of tense, be it past, present or future, is actually divided into four forms. So one of them is simple, a simple form of that tense, perfect form of that tense, continuous form of that tense and perfect continuous form of that tense. So this is a very generic information about tenses, whichever type that you are studying. So now that we are specifically focusing on past tense, let us study the definition of past tense. Okay, so past tense verb is used to indicate an action or event or condition that has happened in the past. So very simple, something that has happened in the past. This is the type of the form of verb which is going to tell you about any action that occurred in the past, right? So for example, I went to the market yesterday. So here went, right, is a form of a verb that is telling you about the fact that this work was done in the past or yesterday, right? So again, as I already told you, any form of tense, be it past, present or future, is basically divided into four categories. So one is simple, second is continuous, third is perfect, and then last but not the least is perfect continuous. So let us go ahead and first study about the first category of past tense. Okay, so let me just brief you about this thing before we go ahead and study about it. Is that simple form of any tense, be it past, present or future, presents that tense in the easiest form. So it is the easiest to recognize whichever type the tense that you are referring to. So simple past tense is used to indicate or describe something that happened or existed in the past. So very easy, the easiest form of that tense, which it will simply indicate to you there is no complication, or there is no specific trick or technique, or it's not made complex by changing any specific thing in it. It's the easiest form of that type of tense, right? To formulate the simple past tense of the verb, we sometimes add ed in the end. So how do you recognize whether a work was done in the past? So if you remember, here we studied about this example of past tense. I went to the market yesterday. So here went was the type of verb which told you that this work was done in the past. So now here if you observe, usually in past tense, to convert the verb form from main verb to a verb form which is reflecting a work that is done in the past, usually it is converted into its ed form, right? For example, love, which is the main verb, would be, if you want to talk about it in the form of a past tense, you're going to call it as loved. So ed form of that, or walk, walked, laugh, laughed, studied, studied. So what are all of these are the ed forms of those particular kind of verbs. So what do the ed form of the what does the ed form of the verb indicate? It indicates the the past form of that verb, correct? So this ed form of a particular verb is called as the past participle, right? So but nevertheless, having said that, it's not important that every type of the ed is the only specific condition for any verb to be converted in its past tense. No, it's not like that. There are different verbs which some of them might have ed as their past form, but some might not even have. For example, you have cut, you have put, you have said. So they do not have the ed form to represent their past form, right? So you don't have to fix this in your mind that only the ed form of a particular verb is what is going to tell you about the past form of that. It's not like that, though it happens in most cases, but there are exceptions as well. So taking a few examples just to sum up, this type of tense that we just studied. He worked at the ice cream factory. So here the verb worked, what is it telling you? It is telling you that this is something that happened in the past. So it is the ed form of the verb, right? So it is the past participle form. So it is telling you about something that happened in the past, or in simple words, it is the simple past form of that particular verb. I worked for 10 hours yesterday. So here again ed form, right? So there's no sub addition, there's no sub clause added to it. It is the simplest form of the verb which will tell you about something that happened in the past. Clear? Okay. So now we have the past continuous form. So what is continuity? Something that has been happening for quite some time, right? That's what we gauge out of continuity. So what is the continuous form of a particular tense? So continuous form of any tense would indicate that particular verb or that particular work being done over a period of time, or continued for a period of time, right? So now to be specific, what is past continuous tense? So past continuous tense is used to indicate an ongoing event in the past. Other conditions were past continuous tense. So there are multiple conditions where you can use them. So one thing that you need to make it very clear in your mind is that the continuous form of past tense will tell you about a particular work that has been happening, that has been continued over a period of time in the past. Now there are certain other examples or certain other conditions wherein you can use them. So first amongst that is to show that something was in the middle of an act, to show that someone was in the middle of an action. So for example, I was doing something, right, and suddenly something else happened. So that is also a condition wherein I can use the continuous form of past tense. So for example, I was getting ready when he came home. So here I was getting ready when he came home. So I was doing something in a continuous form. So something was happening continually and it got interrupted, right? So or is used to describe an action taking place when another action occurred. So there are, look at the example. While they were busy setting the kitchen, I was doing the bedroom. So here there are two actions occurring in the past, but they're happening simultaneously, right? So there is already one action going on and there is another action which comes into picture. So that also is a condition wherein you can use the continuous form of past tense. For an action that was taking place in the past when an interrupted action happened. So you were doing something and suddenly it got interrupted by some other thing that happened, some other thing that came into picture. For example, while I was working on the laptop, I fell asleep. So you were working, you were doing something and suddenly it got interrupted, right? Some other hindrance came into picture. So that also is a condition wherein past continuous tense comes. You can use it. You can use the continuous form of past tense. So as you now might have already gauged when you saw these examples, that how is it formulated? How would you write it, or how would you get into the verbatim? So it is formulated by using was or were and the present participle. So what is present participle? Present participle is ing form of the verb. Like I told you about the past participle, right? So past participle is ed form of the verb, but present participle is ing form of the verb. So was working, were going, were talking. Yeah, so all of these, what are they? They are the ing forms of the verb. So whenever you want to formulate it, how do you do it? We usually, or that is how a continuous form of the past tense is formulated, it is formulated by using was or were along with the present participle. So here, just look at this example. I was getting ready. So was getting. So again, getting is the ing form of the verb, which means it is the present participle, and was getting. So from here, when you see the ing form of the verb, put it in simple lines. Whenever you see an ing form of the verb, you should very easily gauge that it is the continuous form of a tense, respectively past, present or future, whatever the time frame is being referred to in that particular sentence. So here, I was getting ready. So that it was, from here you can very easily make out it is something that has been discussed about the past, and ing form. So that is how you will actually come to this conclusion that it is a past continuous form of the tense. So remember, ing form is the continuous form of a tense. Okay, so now we're going to study about the perfect form of past tense. So what do you understand, or what do you gauge from this word perfect? So perfect could be something that is exactly in line with that, according to the rules or conditions is what we gauge, right? So here, so when you try to understand past perfect tense, it primarily deals with situations wherein a work started in the past and ended there itself. So that is the punch of past perfect tense. So something that started in the past and ended. So it could have been interrupted, or some other work would have come into picture, but just remember that the work which which had started, it started and ended itself in the past. So that is the main punch of past perfect tense. So let's first see the definition. So past perfect tense in a sentence or conversation describes an event that happened in the past before another event was completed in the past. So something that has started and has completed, right? So where are the various conditions wherein you can use that? So an event that had occurred and been completed in the past. So here, for example, he had borrowed money from the bank to buy his new car. So something that started and ended in the past, right? So that whenever you see such a situation, so you can very easily, with closing your eyes itself, you can very easily gauge that this is something that refers to past perfect tense. So again, another condition wherein this would come into picture is describe an action that happened in the past before another action took place. So for example, we reached their house after the dinner was over. So here there is another work. So a work which started in the past, but there is another work which comes into picture here, right? So that is also a condition wherein you can use it. So I'll give you one very easy way to identify, right? So whenever you have a continuous form of a tense, a continuous form of past tense, so in continuous form of the past tense, you'll have the ing form of the verb, but here how will you recognize whether it is perfect or not? So you'll recognize by the fact that you don't have an ing form of a verb in past perfect tense, or for that matter, any perfect form of any tense will not have the ing form of the verb. So here if you talk primarily about past tense, so past perfect tense is formed by using had and the past participle form of the tense, so which means the ed form of the tense, right? So had worked, or had, for example, had we reached their place, so you have the past participle form, right? But in continuous tense you have the ing form, which means you have the present participle. So that is the main punch which helps you to identify whether the tense is a perfect form of past tense, or it is a continuous form of the past tense. Clear? Okay, so last but not the least is your perfect continuous tense. So what do you gauge from this? You've already studied about the perfect element of a tense and a continuous element of a tense. So any kind of form of a tense, form of past tense to be specific, which will have both the elements amalgamated together, is what will be referred to as past perfect continuous tense. Yeah. So the past perfect continuous tense, also known as past perfect progressive tense, shows that an action that started in the past continued up till another time in the past, right? So something that started in the past and it continued till another time in the past. So that is the main punch of your past perfect continuous tense. So how is it formulated, or how would you recognize it? So the past perfect continuous tense is constructed using had been plus the verb's present participle. So had been doing, had been eating, had been drinking. So that is had, this element of had been is what will, very quickly, you can very quickly decide what form of a tense it is or what form of past tense it is, to be very specific. So there are different conditions when you can use it. So when, for, since and before are the words that you may see used alongside the past perfect continuous tense. So here, look at the example. He had been drinking milk out of the carton when mom walked into the kitchen. So here, had been drinking milk, right? So what did you gauge from this word, had been drinking? So you can very easily, from here you can very easily judge and decide that this is the past perfect continuous form of the tense. I had been working at the company for 5 years when I got the promotion. So I had been working. So had been working, again you can very easily gauge that it is the past perfect continuous form of the tense. Martha had been walking 3 miles a day before she broke her leg. So again, had been walking. So you have had been plus the present participle form of the tense, right? So this is all about past tense. So now let us apply whatever we've just studied and practice an exercise. Okay, so here in these sentences, let us gauge what type of tense is it, what, or to be specific, which type of past tense does it refer to. When I arrived at the restaurant, Victoria had already ordered a glass of water. So something that started in the past, right? And ended also in the past, though interrupted by some other work. So here, when I arrived is the perfect form of the past tense. He noticed that Peter had not painted the old chair. Again, the perfect form of a past tense. Were you yawning during the last session? I'm sure none of you is yawning, but if somebody asked you what type of tense would it be, that would be the continuous form of past tense. Obviously, you have the ing form, right? So you can very easily gauge. Were you not hiding in the tree house? So again, ing form. So what is it? It is the continuous form of the tense. Were they talking to each other before the fight started? Again, though there is another work which came into, another verb which came into picture, but again here the ing form is used. So if the ing form is used, it has to be the perfect, it has to be the continuous form of the tense. Were you not swimming when someone stole your clothes? So again, it is the continuous form. She had been sleeping for 10 hours when I woke her. So what is it? It has both the had been sleeping. So what do you understand? It is the past perfect continuous tense. It had been raining and the road was covered in water. Again, past perfect continuous tense. They all went for shopping. So it is the simple past tense. Who ate my chocolates? Again, simple past tense. Very easy to gauge because your concepts now are clear. So I am so sure that you can very easily make out or very easily formulate, any type of past tense that you want to without any hesitation. So here are the answers ready for you, for your practice. We will see you again in the next video. Till that time, keep learning with Tutorials Point and Tutorix. The link for Tutorix is there in the description box. Go ahead and enjoy learning from that video platform. We will see you again. Till that time, have a good day.